Hello, my name's Tom Atkins, President and CEO of Mammoth Resources, and I'm here chatting with Crux investors. Mammoth is on the TSX-V, symbol MTH. We have a high sulfidation gold-silver project in the Sierra Madre of Mexico, and we're in the process of drilling. We're testing a large 4-kilometer, oh my goodness, it's thousands of soil samples, hundreds of chip samples, channel samples, and 26 prior drill holes. And we've embarked on a phase 3 drill program, testing this large 4-kilometer trend, various target zones within that, and have just begun to issue some results from that program.
Tom, great. Good to have you with us.
Yes.
Your mobile phone signal or your internet signal is a little bit ropey. Where are you now?
I'm in Mexico right now, actually, so apologies on that. A little bit of a scheduling, but anyway, hopefully we can carry on.
Well, hopefully the connection will hold up. Mind you, it's not that much better where I am in the UK, so fingers crossed for the connection. So Mammoth Resources, you've just published the first batch of drill results from your drilling program. Could you just kind of give an overview of how that drill program came up, what you're testing, because in the summer you said you're going to be testing target areas 1 to 5, and remind me if you just reported on target area 1, is that right? And just kind of put things in context for me, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we're the first holes were announced in the Canaritos area. This is in the eastern portion of the trend. We had 3 prior drill holes in this area, covering an area, like a large area, 2 kilometers by about 1.5 kilometers. So, I mean, very sporadic drilling. And we'd had some pretty good results there, including over 100-meter interval, grading about 0.6 gram per ton gold, of which there were, 50 meters of near a gram. So we're following up on that, and we drilled 4 drill holes, 3 of which hit potentially economic rates of mineralization over tens of meters. I mean, the longest was 43.5 meters of about 0.6 gold equivalent. We do silver to gold on a 75-to-1 ratio, so about that kind of grade. You can see it in the press release. But so we had some good results, and these were pretty major step outs. Like, we're not doing like 25-meter step outs. I mean, the closest was 63 meters. The furthest was 200 meters from this prior drilling. So we're testing large target zones that exist from, let's say, thousands of soil geochemicals, 700 chip samples, and I guess about 150 meters of channel samples, plus the geophysics, IP-NAG geophysics. So we've got a good set of data, and we see some pretty compelling targets. And we've had some success in these areas. We've had some good success in these areas from our prior drilling.
Tom, what do you consider? I mean, when you set out the drill program for the Canalita zone, what were you hoping to hit? What's the style of mineralization that you're looking for here? Is it structurally controlled? Is it disseminated? What are your grade widths that you would constitute as success in your mind if you had hit it, and where did your results come relative to that?
Yeah, look, it's early days. In these types of systems, you have a number of styles of mineralization. You can get stratigraphic replacement by hydrothermal fluids. So these are hydrothermal fluids. Just remember, just for the layperson, hydro and thermal. Hydro is it's gases, heated water, acidic water, and thermal is the heated, and so the gold is contained within these acid solutions that are coming up from deeper in the earth in the volcanic system or intrusive system. And so these systems, they come up through structure, they replaced favorable stratigraphies, and so we see all of that type of mineralization. We see a stratigraphic replacement, we see breccias, we see it along structures. So, I mean, again, let's put it in context. There's been 26 prior drill holes. We see mineralization in all of these settings, and we're still trying to figure out what's going to be dominant. And it's important to point out, we have some mineralization in structural controls, higher grade stuff in the feeders. We're going to have stratigraphic that might be more modest grades. So Canaritos is a big area. again, 2 kilometers by 1.5 kilometers. And we're seeing various styles of mineralization there. As far as success, anything that's potentially economical over tens of meters, as we got like 43 meters of almost 0.6, that's economical. And I just want to put economical in context as well, Merlin. Look, I was CEO of Castle Gold back in 2008-9. And it gold at around $900 to $1,100 an ounce gold. We were mining 0.47 at that time in an open pit heap leach setting. And so for us to get 43 meters of 0.57 gold equivalent, look at those are economical grades. And I mentioned in my press release, this is comparable to what Agnico Eagle is mining in India, in the Sierra Madre, in a high sulfidation system. So these are good results.
And Castle Gold, that went on into, got sold, but the Argonaut, and is that Go Gold, or is it Minera Alamos, who's kind of gone on from that team?
It's Minera Alamos are the team from the team that I worked with. That's right. Yep.
And so it's Darren Koenig and Doug Ramshaw, and they're also targeting some low grade stuff. I call it low grade.
Exactly. Well, modest grade. Let's say look at modest grade in an open pit heap leach setting, and you don't need high grades. I mean, certainly, we have high grades, and it adds to the overall grade of the deposit. I mean, one thing about, I remember we would always talk about this at Castle Gold is open pit, low cost, bulk tonnage, heap leach. Heap leaches, they're averaging machines because you're putting a bunch of rock on a big pile and it takes a period of time to leach out. So, what you put on a month ago is still leaching, and then you're averaging that out with stuff that you put on, every dump truck that you dumped from that, that month or 2 months or 3 months ago up to present. And so you have this big averaging machine so you really have to look at the average grade and to kind of look at something and say, okay, these guys got 35 or 25 or 45 meters of this grade. It's all part of the grades. I mean, we've had other higher grade intervals. It's all going to average out, and we're just happy to hit tens of meters of potentially economic grade, and that's what we've been able to do. So that's great.
The market gave it a bit of a shrug, didn't it? It was a bit ho-hum because of the 4 holes you released, 1 had a good intersection, 2 had kind of some mineralization, and one didn't. Is that right?
1 missed, and the others were varied. Here, actually, if you don't mind, I'll
let's bring it up. Let's bring it up
here, and then we can see. So this is I'm just using this to illustrate the trend here. So these are kilometer grid spacings here, and this is gold in soil. So you can see, look at the 6 grams, 6.3 grams of gold in dirt, like in soil. So some very high grade over this trend. So big trend. This is a map that shows 4 kilometers. These are now half-kilometer grid spacings. And this is layering everything. So the base layer here, the pink, blue, greenish, this is the mag. And what's interesting about here in Canaritos in particular is a low mag, which is the bluish tone that we see here, blue-green. That's indicative of low mag, which means the destruction of magnetic minerals by active hydrothermal systems. So these areas are really attractive, in particular in this area of Canaritos. And then, and again, this is a 4 kilometer trend. You can see the different target zones that we have based on geophysics, soils, and other. And this is zooming in on Canaritos where we did our drilling and that. And again, half-kilometer sections, so you can see about 1.5 kilometers wide by about 2 kilometers north-south. And you can see the spacing of the holes here. So these are pretty significant step outs. Like this 1001 from 07, that's over 200 meter step outs. So we're not doing like 25 meter step outs. We're doing big step outs, testing large areas. We can come back in and do the infill on it, but we want to show the potential to make extensive zones right now. Okay. So, and then you can see the grades here. So we talked about that. So there's the 37.5 of 0.53. There's 43.5 of almost 0.6. And 19.5 of 0.63, of which there were some higher grade intervals over, some decent widths in there as well.
So can you see my maps on the screen, or is it just yours that you can see?
Unfortunately, I can't see yours. I'm sorry, Merlin.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
So I'm
So
under
let's
control.
So you hit. So if you go to the first hole, 2101.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That hit 37.5
37 and a
meters
half
at point 0.53.
Yep.
Then you came across, and between 1706 and 1707, there was no mineralization there.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of a look at a surprise to us. It was only about a 63, well, it was a 63 meter step out from 06. What we believe that there's been some faulting there. So it's the block has been down faulted and displaced. So we were surprised to have missed that. But you know, that's still what we're trying to learn about the system and that. So
did you hit the same kind of alteration? Did you hit the same veining? Did you hit the same geology? You know, that's quite a close. I mean, how can you tell that it's faulted? Is it just the absence of mineralization, or are there some stratigraphic markers that you can use?
Some stratigraphic markers as well. Yeah. So we had some stuff on surface, but then we quickly lost that. And so, you know, the belief is, look at, like, there is a lot of faulting in the area. And I can't say that we figured it all out at this point in time. I mean, look at, we had two drill holes in there previously. So that's our supposition at this point in time, as we just missed it because of potentially a fault.
And am I right in thinking that there's no structure marked on this? I mean, there's a pronounced trend, isn't there, from southeast to northwest, and you've more or less drilled across it north-south, and that's fine. And you picked up good grades in, well, good thicknesses in holes 3 and 4. What's next? Are you going to, what's that middle line? That middle line's got some nice soil geochemistry on it. Are you going to be drill testing that?
Well, Merlin, here's what we want to do in the program. We're calling it sort of a scout program. Yeah. And so with this larger, you know, 4-kilometer trend, I'm going to go back to this. So our drilling was in this area here. So we drilled down here and we drilled up here. These two zones are separated by 0.5 kilometer right now. So whether they're parallel zones or they're connected or part of a whole larger, volcanic dome, which is what's potentially being indicated by the low mag, and that it's magnetic destruction by hydrothermal activity through the mag. So we're really intrigued by this whole area, which is, you know, of significant size, but we have to do the work. But what we're doing, Merlin, is we're doing 3 or 4 drill holes in an area, and then we're moving to another area, and we await the results in that. So right now we're drilling in the central Masopati area, and then we'll be also drilling in Moreno over in this area here. And then we're going to come back to Canaritos because we want to wait for the results, see what kind of results we get, and then return and do some follow-up drilling based on the knowledge we gain from that. Because I got to put this in perspective. I mean, this is a big area. And right now, with the 4 holes that we drilled and the 3, we've only got 7 holes in a 2-kilometer by 1.5 kilometer area.
Yeah, I'm with you. I completely get that. What I can't see on this map, though, because this is a geophysics map and a geochemistry map, just from here, I can't see the geology. So I can't see whether that southwestern area is related, or how it's related geologically to that central portion. And it's not a criticism. It's just an observation that I don't know what the geology is there.
Right. Yeah, and look, as far as geology, and I apologize for that. As far as geology, you know, what these tend to be is it's argillic and silica altered volcanics up to being brecciated throughout the whole area. I mean, the outcrop coverage is probably in the vicinity of I don't know, maybe 10 to 15%. And we see that type of geology throughout. Look at, as far as, you know, beyond what we see on surface, what carries on at depth, we don't know until we drill it.
No, but so just on the targeting, because we always, you know, when we're in exploration, you use every bit of data that's available. So you use the geophysics, use the geochemistry, use the soils, the rock chips, the drill holes. So my question is, I guess, how much of a handle do you have on the geology, and are you driven in your targeting by a little bit of influence from the geology, but more by the chemistry and the geophysical response? You know, what roughly, you know, how much of an input is the geology?
That's a good question. Okay, you know, it's funny in looking at our targeting, because we go through a very thorough process, putting all the data together, and I just want to preface that comment with some illustration. I mean, we did 3D modeling working with the geophysicists, incorporating all of the data, and so really we incorporate all of the data. Look at from the surface geology standpoint to see our highly argillic alteration, brecciation. Look at that, vuggy silica, high sulfidation systems, vuggy silica. All of those are compelling targets. To be able to layer on top of that good soil geochem, good rock chip samples. Look, we get samples up to 73 gram per ton gold. I don't even like using those values, quite frankly, because I don't really think they mean anything. But just to put it in context, and that because you can always grab a good sample, and that. But we've got some good samples. But beyond that, even, because we recognize that bias of sampling is we cut channels, and we got meters creating over the 1.2 grams, 1.3 grams thing, and we keep asking ourselves, what shows best.
And do you have any structure? I mean, because structure and mineralization often go hand in hand, as you know. Do you have fault controls? Do you have can you use satellite imagery? Can you use aerial photographs? Have you done a LiDAR? I mean, probably not, because the LiDAR is too expensive, but have you got an ability to map structure from surface, or maybe use the magnetics? Do the magnetics help with structure? I mean, have you got a kind of a structural map for the area?
So look at, so we both see structure in outcrop, and that there's structure inferred in the geophysics, and that's really the resistivity and chargeability. And that, because of course, we might see a resistive. Like, here's an interesting thing about the geophysics. So we're doing IP, we're looking at resistivity, and that an interesting, challenging part about the resistivity is where we have a good oxidized layer on surface, and you've had feldspars altered to clays. Well, those clays are actually not resistive now; they're potentially conductive, and so the IP. You almost have to look at resistivity at a little bit greater depth and sort of recognize that it's continuing to surface, and that. So look at there isn't a single geophysics that's a silver bullet. It's interpretation, and coming to your thing on its structure is it's using all of the tools and interpretations from that. Look at, if this was easy, look, everyone would be drilling stuff all the time, and every single drill hole would hit. But what I think is really impressive is the number of drill holes that we put in big 200-meter step outs, and we're hitting mineralization, and I think that shows and helps to illustrate that this is a pretty prolific system. I mean, look at prolific because it's over 4 to 6 kilometers. I mean, that in itself, illustrates it has to have been a pretty robust system, and that we've been fortunate enough in our targeting to do pretty significant step outs in big areas and hit in 3 or 4 drill holes, as a first phase. I think shows, that we're doing the right thing. I mean, the one thing we can't do is we can put all these pieces together, but what we can't do is no grade. Like nothing that we have is going to show us grade at depth other than drilling. So,
let's say that you and I are sitting around the table. We're going to plan the drilling. You've already got some drilling in progress, and we want to give the market the best results possible that we can, just to show that this system's got the legs, it's got the juice, it's got everything that is needed to make this kind of an economic proposition. Can you pull up that slide again of the bigger area with all the target areas on it?
Yep. Let me just,
and if you could just so you're drilling TA3A now.
TA2 right now. TA2 right now.
Okay, so how many more holes have you got?
We've moved over to this area. So yes, we've moved over to this area now. Yep.
Okay, so you're drilling TA3A, target area 3A now. What's
yep.
What's the target there? What are you looking for there?
Well, we'll look at from past drilling. There's a couple of things. There are some structures that are going in a northwesterly south south-southeast direction. And so you can see some historical workings up here, so artisanal workings. But we also have this larger trend here. So what we're doing right now is we're testing all that. We're actually stepping out over in this area here. We're also drilling up here into the north. So we're going to be testing a few areas along here. And, again, we look at, for example, up in this working here, there's a structural component to that. It's an artisanal working. There's been some decent grades. You see the soils here. This is over 0.5 gram. These larger circles are over 0.5 gram in soil. You can see some good soils over here as well. So we're testing this trend, and we're testing these potential north-south structures as well.
How many holes into TA3A? TA3A.
Yeah, in general, look at the ones there in red, the TDH holes. That's from a predecessor, the first drilling ever done in the project, and they drilled 15 holes. Now, 15 holes from it, I don't have on the top of my head, but 15 holes from probably about 10 locations. Sometimes they're drilling to the north, sometimes they're drilling to the south. So they
no. Sorry. So my question is, how many holes are you planning to drill into that?
Oh, so we're going to I think we're doing 3 to 4 in this area right now. Again, the same sort of thing, 3 to 4 and move to another area. So then we'll move over to the Moreno area over here.
Okay, and again, will you be doing
Moreno, and then we'll be back at Canaditas again.
And will you do another 3 to 4 holes at El Moreno?
Yes, that's the intent. Yep.
And what are they, about 200-meter holes, 150-meter holes?
Yeah, because we're generally drilling at about minus 55, minus 60-ish of inclination. So, we're going anywhere from, sometimes they might be 100 up to 200, generally speaking. Yep.
Okay, and you're drilling TA3A at the moment, is that right?
Correct.
And then you're going to put some holes into TA1, into that structural, into where those pits are. And you've got one rig going at the moment. So when do you expect kind of results from that middle section?
Yeah, that's a bit of a wild card. But people say, oh, what's the timing at the labs? The timing at the labs is when the last samples went in, and whoever has the queue in front of us, and when they send their samples, right? I just really don't know that. I can't.
Give me a timeline that you're confident it will be. Is it going to be Q2 or is it going to be Q3?
Oh, no. It'll be in Q1. We'll have some results.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. Q1.
Possibly before the end of the year, but probably more likely, I think, towards the end of the year. Look, I'm not going to release results on December 23rd.
Or even worse. It's the week between New Year and Christmas. Exactly. Christmas and New Year. Exactly. That's a desert.
Exactly.
And then so early in the year, next year you'll be drilling El Moreno, and again 3 or 4 holes. And you sounded in the news release in the summer, that sounded as if that was quite of quite high interest. It was open to the west, I think it was.
Well, it's open both to the west and east, and that. So I don't know if you can still see the slide here, or if you can out of the slide, but this whole area over here. This TA3B, because there's TA3 there, it's B. This whole area here, there's nothing over there that's been drilled. And again, you can see some mag low there. The cross hatching is a combination of, and this is at 50 meters depth, is a combination of attractive resistivity and chargeability. And if you go to our website under the project section, you'll see some animation. A 3D animation going across the whole project, going from the east to the west and going from the south to the north. So you can see these anomalous areas. So there's a really attractive area over here, and you can see the soils as well. And then over here in Moreno as well, and that's open as well. Look at what we have over in this area. This is the limit of the IP mag, the IP. The mag continues further to the west, but it's pretty robust here right at that limit, and so that's open as well. But we've got 4 kilometers just between the geophysics, between the IP mag geophysics and that. So it's wonderful that it's still open, but right now our focus is trying to get a sense of what opportunities exist within the 4 kilometers, which is huge in and of itself. If you look at this footprint and that, just to put context, you know, I mean, and anybody can do this calculation. Just go down 120 meters, take a modest grade and that, and ask yourself how many, or what percentage of that large area needs to be mineralized at even a modest 0.6, 0.5 gram per ton gold to get 1 million ounces. And you're probably looking at, I don't know, half of 1%, something of that size. So, you know, I mean, it's a big area. A lot of these things, and it's not like there's going to be consistent mineralization. There are likely going to be pockets and areas along the trend where resources can be built up. But the fact is, over that 4 kilometers by, you know, 2.5 or so kilometers, you need probably like, I don't know, half 1% to be mineralized, and you get 1 million ounces of gold. Like it's, you know, I mean, just do the back of the envelope. It doesn't, you can see pretty quickly, you know, what's required.
I hear you, and I know that exploration requires persistence and perseverance. You've certainly demonstrated that over the years. I think
we can talk a lot about that. You know what that's about.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it's been tough, tough yards. It's been a tough 10 years. But you've got. So you're going to come back and so you're going to drill Moreno. You're going to drill TA3. You're going to come back, drill the middle bit of Carnarito, around that kind of where that middle section where that gap is. That's so in total from the first hole in Carnarito through to the last hole in Carnarito. What's your drill budget in terms of meters?
Well, look, what we'd like to do in this program is we're aiming for probably 20 to 25 drill holes. And let's evaluate along the way where we sit as far as then going further and continuing. So let's suppose we're fortunate enough to kind of get similar intervals. And you know, I mean, you know, I would guess in Canadians, for example, you know, whether it's that central zone or the zone further to the east, let's suppose we end up with, I don't know, I'm going to throw out a number, say there's 10 drill holes in that area. And we're hitting on 3 or 4 of the 10. So we hit 7 or 8 of the 10. Clearly, lots of opportunity to follow up and that. And so when we get all of those results, you know, we'll look and say, okay, what's the next phase? What are we going to do next? Where are the opportunities? And we go from there. So
you've got enough money to drill 5,000 meters in total.
Yeah, I think we're probably in that ballpark. Yep.
Okay, good. And well, so much of it hinges on the work that comes out, and
exactly. Well, like any exploration project. I mean, look, we're no different than any project, right? I mean, it's a phase of exploration, and we see what comes from this phase, evaluate it, and you know, we present it to the market and say, guys, you want to keep going? It's up to you guys. Our job is to, you know, apply the data to do the best we can to try to hit intervals that create a compelling story of future potential, and the market's going to decide, right? And if we've got support, then we continue to finance, we continue to drill.
I mean, I think in this part of Mexico, what you're really looking for is a heap leach target that can be taken out in an open pit with not too onerous strip ratios, clean metallurgy, and really, I think the critical aspect of that is getting that bulking up of those tons, because if you're on narrow structures, it just, A, the pit draws down too quickly, B, you've got to go too far along strike. So you're really looking for those widths. I think so much of the success of the next 6 months in this company will be contingent on the results, where you get those decent widths of plus 0.5.
And let me put that in context. You know, I talked about chip samples and our sampling right now. I mean, look, this is further down the press release when we read the QA/QC stuff. We're not sampling anything less than 1.5 meters. We didn't do it in our chip sampling, and we're not doing that. I'm not interested in 20 centimeter or 40 centimeter interval at grade 7 gram per ton gold, because it doesn't matter in open pit. All of our samples are 1.5 meters up to 4 meters. And that, I mean, the 4 meter ones are because we're getting a tough ground and the core's broken up. And so we don't feel confident enough dividing at 1.5 meters. But those are the kind of intervals we're sampling, because we're looking at it from an open pit perspective. There's lots of surface mineralization. I mean, we're going to start open pit on this thing. So that's how we sample. That's how we conduct the exploration. And we're looking at, you know, decent intervals with decent, potentially economic grades, and that's what we're seeing so far. I want to illustrate as well. We're not we're doing significant step outs because we're looking at the potential of building bulk tons, and that we've got mineralization on surface. Generally speaking, we're targeting anywhere from surface down to around 100, 120 meters depth. And that, again, because that's probably going to be your starter pit shell. So those are the things that we're doing. And that I'm not going to, like I said, I don't care. Like, we're not sampling, oh, here's a nice little veinlet. Let's take a 20 or 30 centimeter sample and see if we can get a high grade. It's not going to matter. Just, so that's not what we're doing.
Think in gram meters? Do you think we need to get 50 meters at half a gram? Do you think to give you the 25 gram meters, is that something that you think about? Do you aim for 100 gram meters, or what for you constitutes success? Is it 20 gram meters? Where are you on that?
Yeah, I look at tens of meters. I mean, we just don't have the density. Like, I'll just give you an example. I mean, when we took over, when the asset was taken over at Castle Gold, Bella Steel, it had been owned previously by Hemlo Gold. And, so whatever phases of exploration they went through to arrive at their resource model, they started drilling at a consistent spacing to define the open pit. And that in the area to the south of that defined resource, I mean, I remember scraping off a little bit of money because, gold had crashed after 2008. We just scraped a little bit of money off of it, and we invested 200 grand, and we drilled this area to the south. So in the pit, we could see where the structures were going. We had sporadic drilling to the south, but we didn't have the density where you could create a resource. So the objective was, look at where we're seeing the controls, look at the spacing, and selectively pop some holes in there with the 200 grand we have to see if we can bring it into a resource. We did that, and we increased the resource by 50% on the 200 grand program. And that was part of what attracted Argonaut and took the company out. So, I mean, you have to look at it in that context. For us right now, we're doing sizable step outs. I mean, that whole number one, that was a 200 meter step out, 200 meter step out. And that's so we see mineralization at surface. We're seeing mineralization in certain holes. And we're not doing like 25 or 50 meter step outs. We're looking at, can we illustrate the potential to create a bulk resource?
Well, Tom, thank you very much. I wish you every luck with the exploration. My goodness, exploration is a challenging game. You've got some great territory there. You've got some great signals. You've got the geochemistry, the geophysics. And good luck with the drilling. Let's see how it goes. I hope to get you back on in a few months when you're saying you've got this and this.
Exactly.
And
we start to put some of these other pieces together. No, absolutely. And good questions. I mean, it's good, and I hope it's helped to give some context to what we're doing, because you can only say so much in a press release. It's good to have the opportunity to do some illustrations and to I think to put into perspective what it is we're trying to achieve and how we view success and what we're seeing. So I appreciate that opportunity.
Not at all. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Take care. Have a nice day.
You too.